for the best deals, the most awesome giveaways on sensory toys, educational tools, and kid products all in one spot. This is Sensory Deal Live. Hey y'all, Angela here. Today, our guest is no stranger to Sensory Deal in the Lackey Kid family. And no, I'm not talking about Jason. He has been writing blogs for Lackey Kid and has been providing us with expert advice for a few years now. But before I introduce him, I wanted to say hello to all of you, our audience. We are so excited you're here with us this evening. Please feel free to comment, send us questions, or anything you want to tell us about yourself. We'd love to hear from you guys. Matt Sloan is a certified occupational therapy assistant, specializing in integrative therapy. Matt is also a fitness professional. He is certified as a WEC Method Master Trainer in rotational movement training, a coach, and has worked as a special education teacher and adaptive PE coach. Matt has been involved in education, fitness, and working with kids and adults with all abilities in a multitude of settings for over 25 years. Hey, Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So I know you are no stranger to our family, but for the newer viewers, can you tell us a little bit more about sensory fitness?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so sensory fitness is it's a fitness business. I work with kids and or adults struggling with sensory difficulties, and that can include anybody on the autism spectrum, sensory processing disorder, other neurodiversity, maybe even ADHD. So I do fitness classes. I do one-on-one training, and that's a half of what I do. The other half of what I do is I work with fitness trainers, OTs, PTs, educators, PE teachers on using sensory strategies in whatever environment they're working in. So so I'll go into a classroom and we'll talk about ways to make the environment a bit more sensory friendly and how to take some intentional movement breaks revolving around sensory and that kind of stuff. In fact, I'm doing a certification right now called A Sensory Approach to Adaptive Fitness, and it's geared towards fitness professionals, but anybody working with kids or adults in a physical capacity, OTs, coaches, PE teachers, it's perfect for. And it's a hands-on and a virtual training. It's a lot of fun. It's a conglomeration of a lot of things and how to utilize some sensory strategies, how to be intentional about working on posture and coordination, and so many really integrative fitness principles as well. So I love it. I'm excited about it. And yeah, so that's what I do. That's sensory fitness.
Yeah, you're like Jason. You guys are always on the go, aren't you?
Always on the go. Yes, I get the wheels start turning if I sit too long, and my wife gets noticed.
Now, as a certified occupational therapy assistant, what is it that you do for kids with the special needs?
So, okay, well, I started off as in working in a clinic and a couple of clinics, and the first one I ever worked in was solely sensory integration therapy. It's a very specific type of therapy, mostly working with kids on the spectrum or sensory processing disorder, the neurodiverse population, or even kids with movement disorders, difficulty with coordination, that kind of stuff. Anyway, that was my bread and butter. That's kind of the foundation of everything I do. And so I kind of branched off from that because I was also a fitness professional. It sounds funny when I say the word professional, but yeah, I'm a fitness professional. Anyway, so I worked with WEC Method and a couple of other fitness companies, and utilizing those principles. There's such a good crossover. So when you're working with a kid in a clinic, there's so much you could do for that kid in another place besides that clinic. So they would come to me for an hour, 50 minutes out of the week. And that's it. But there's no reason why some of these strategies couldn't be used in a PE class, or if they're working with a trainer or a coach. That's a great setting for that. There's a lot of the same equipment. It's big soft mats. You're doing gross motor, that kind of stuff. And, teachers can utilize this stuff, coaches. So I branched off on my own and I started to rent out gym spaces and was kind of doing a combination of a lot of things. And, if I can incorporate some suspension, some swings, I'll do that. We'll use a lot of heavy, big, soft medicine balls and clubs. We smash, we crawl, we climb. We do a lot. We do a lot. Did I even answer your question? I forgot what it was. I apologize.
Yes, you did. Now, also, by the way, let's go to this one. It says, "What about those who would like to learn the exercises that aren't near your location?" This is from Hank.
So like specific exercises, you can just reach out and say, "Hey Matt, what are you doing?" And I'll shoot you some information. I post stuff on YouTube. I don't Not that active on YouTube, but if you go to my Instagram and stuff, you can see some of the stuff I'm doing. If you're interested in any other workshops, you can just go to my website and sign up for one. There's a couple of them.
Hank
Yeah.
also said, he said, "I am an adult on the ASD spectrum and have ADHD, and regular fitness is hard for me. Now, I'm not near you to attend in person, but what options do you have for those to learn the different workouts?"
So if you're interested in doing like sessions, you can always set up I've done virtual trainings for people. It's a little tricky because sometimes, but it can work absolutely. So I can show you where are you in the house? Where are you working? What do you have? What equipment do you have? And how can we utilize that to your best advantage? Or just if you have specific questions, like you don't want to train, you just want some questions, reach out to me and I'll gladly help you out in any way I can. Absolutely.
And also another one is his Sensory Fitness Facebook. I have been seeing so many little video clips you have, and I love your gym, by the way. So if just exercises ideas, follow Matt, and he's got a bunch of stuff. His Facebook is very active with videos. Now we are going to cut to a little video clip, and then we will be right back.
عزيز عليا يا حمودة يا قاسدي ومولاك مية عزيز عليا ما حمودة يا قاسدي مولاك مية عزيز عليا يا حمودة يا قاسدي ومولاك مية عزيز عليا ما حمودة
7. Oh! Oh no! Oh! 3. Boom! Get it over. Boom!
Hey everyone, we're back. Isn't his gym look awesome, by the way, guys? Okay. Now, next question is.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. What is your sensory approach to adaptive fitness certification? I know you've said a little bit about this, but could you explain a little more?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying earlier, it's geared towards fitness professionals. Anybody working with excuse me, kids on the autism spectrum, this would be a good course to take. Or if you have some kids that just have difficulty with movements, or maybe even some behavior difficulties, and you can't quite find the best avenue to work with that. It's using sensory approaches to work with some of our kiddos. There's a lot of adaptive programs out there. If you Google adaptive program, maybe in your area, usually the ones that pop up are usually for kids or adults that are physically disabled or even or intellectually disabled. And there's not that many that kind of gear towards kind of the neurodiverse population. And there's a couple of really good ones that focus on autism specifically, and those are great. However, the one with how mine's a lot different actually, is I just kind of focus on the sensory piece. We don't really address behavior. I don't say we don't address the behavior, but we don't really use cognitive strategies to get kids motivated and do stuff. I mean, absolutely, sometimes you have to, but it's really looking at that sensory piece, that foundational piece of and we all have sensory systems. We all have a nervous system. And sometimes, we get stressed, or we have trauma, or we have a sensory difficulty that gets in the way of function and behavior. So that's what this certification is all about, looking and understanding what that means, and how can we bring a kid either from like a low kind of not alert state to a ready to go state, or kind of where we're high, where maybe we're misbehaving, or we're excited, or we just can't come down. So finding a way using some of those strategies to getting to a ready place to then do whatever it is I want them to do as an instructor. And then we also go further. We also look at stability and coordination, being intentional about like the foundational qualities of coordination. It's not just you think of coordination, you think of maybe like throwing a ball back and forth. It's like, that's a very coordinated activity. We're looking at stuff like 10 steps before that to help develop a midline, to help kind of understand how the body works. And I'm not teaching kids, we're just getting them used to how this machine operates, and then we get comfortable in it, and then we can explore some movements that we like to do. Motivation's the big piece. I can spend all day teaching a kid an exercise, but if they're not motivated by it, what are they actually learning? Maybe, to be fair, you can learn a lot and become motivated by it, but sometimes that sympathetic nervous system kicks in, and I don't want to. It kind of can go the other way, and then will that carry on down through my lifespan? Maybe, maybe not. But if I'm enjoying my activity, I'm enjoying movement, then I'm more likely to continue with that. And that's true for anybody. If you're forcing yourself to go to the gym, you're getting benefits of exercise. But if you're doing a physical activity that you're still getting those same benefits from going to the gym, but you really enjoy it, it's 100 times better for so many reasons.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes, no, you did. Now, I know you touched this a little bit on who would benefit the most with your certification class. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's geared toward fitness professionals, but the majority of the people that take it are OTs, because it's very OT based. It's very sensory integration based. However, I pull a lot from like functional fitness and we play with some pretty cool toys and equipment that is pretty fun. It promotes movement. So it's geared towards anybody working with kids in a fitness in a physical capacity. So it fits great for PE teachers, especially some PE teachers have an entire class of kids on the spectrum, and if I don't necessarily have training in working with that population, it can be difficult. It's different working with, and that's something else we also address. Is like there's a difference between a one-on-one and a class of people. So how do we address that? So okay, what can we do to the environment to help bring that sensory input down? It can help some of these kiddos with those sensory difficulties, things like that. So fitness professionals, PE teachers, OTs, those are generally the majority of people that take it. I've had a lot of parents take it as well. So parents are really driven to do stuff at home with their kids, and that's great.
So also homeschool teachers,
oh yeah,
do that too. And for occupational therapy, which is the OT he keeps talking about, I have seen my son goes once a week to help with hand strength and upper arm strength, and I have seen their little gym, and they have some. Like, I didn't even realize they had so many different things, you know what I mean, to work with the kids, just the tools that OT therapy, the wide variety they have. So that's something I've grown to know myself.
And that's a lot of what I do is I pull a lot from OT and like, okay, how can we use it in this environment? How can you use it in the gym environment? How can you use it at home? Because some of that stuff is hard, like suspension with swings and lycra. That stuff is super beneficial, but it's not always practical. So what are they getting from that? And how can we recreate that in this different environment with what else we have? And then same thing other way. Like, okay, if you're an OT, I got a lot of really fascinating fitness principles and equipment that you can utilize. Because sometimes when kids go to OT, generally it's pediatrics. And then kids kind of get older and it's not always age appropriate. So some of the kids like to do like the fitness stuff, like boxing or weightlifting or that kind of stuff. So that's when you bust out some of that fitness stuff and it kind of fit in there as well. Oh, and if you're a fitness professional, you can also get some continuing education credits through NASM and AFAA as well. So
yes, and the certification class that we are talking about today is actually $300 off right now. We will put the link in our comments. So definitely check it out. Look at, everything we're talking about and see if it's something you would like to jump on for sure. Now, I know you said you do have some online options. I know not everyone is local to you. So even though we're not local, how can we take the certification course?
Yeah, so if you're local, if you're in the Tacoma, Seattle area, I often use Redbox Fitness. Sorry, Redbox. Oh my goodness, he's going to kill me for saying that. Roundbox Fitness up in Seattle on Jackson Ave in Beacon Hill. I use that location, as well as I just have a new location now at Ford Dynasty Wrestling Club on South Tacoma Way in Tacoma. And there's a couple other places I have access to for anyone interested in doing that. So I have a couple of dates set up on my site. If there's a date or a time that doesn't work for you, just contact me. I will gladly come to your clinic, your gym, your school, whatever it is, wherever you're working, and we can do a certification there. If you're not local, I do an online one. It's 2 hours shorter because the hands-on, we spend a lot of time getting set up, breakdown. It's a lot hands-on. The virtual one, there's a lot of, I've tried it to do it hands-on, but you kind of lose something in the virtual world. So there's a lot of videos, like demo videos and stuff like that you can pre-watch. And then also you have access to all these video libraries to go to afterwards, after we go through the content. And then so you can refer back to that stuff. Because we go through, it's quite a lot. It's a lot of information. And to retain it all is bananas. There's no way. So having that, like, what was he talking about with the ropes? How do we do it? And then you click on the rope video. Oh, okay. That kind of stuff. So, the in-person is 6 and the virtual is 4. Soon to up everything by 2 more hours in a bit. So, because I'm adding more information because I'm bananas and I want to overload it.
That's awesome. And you just answered our next question, believe it or not, which was how long does it normally take? So we can move on from that one. Now we are going to cut to another little video for you guys and we'll see you soon.
Push hard, push. Push it. There you go, that's it. Yeah, use your head, that's it. Oh, here comes the helper. Push it.
Oh, he made it. Oh, the heavy one. Oh man, that's incredible. Wow. What, you play basketball? Holy cow. Breathing.
And we're back. So now when it comes to the fitness course and the certification, what makes you different from the other courses out there?
So I was kind of saying this earlier, number one, so I actually changed the name. It was a sensory approach to fitness, but it really is geared towards kind of the neurodiverse population because of the sensory piece. If I'm on the autism spectrum, chances are I probably struggle also with sensory processing disorder. And then I can also just have sensory processing disorder. Or if I'm on that neurodiverse, it's a huge umbrella term that covers quite a bit. So oftentimes in that neurodiverse world comes a sensory difficulty. So that's why I changed it to adaptive fitness, because it's really you're adapting how you would do your fitness with anyone, right? Because you're being more aware of the sensory piece, and then you're making modifications, accommodations, and you're being intentional about the activities you choose. Excuse me. Also, I was saying this earlier, it's when you look up if you were to find someone who does fitness for the neurodiverse population, That's fantastic. I love that you're seeing more and more of these pop up. That's what we need, and we need more awareness of what neurodiversity actually means. How do we define that? And let's give that a few more definitions and bring more awareness to it, and look at that sensory piece. That's the I feel like it's the not as understood as it could be, and it really should be one of the first things you learn in school and when working with anybody in the neurodiverse population. But that's where I differ, is I focus on the sensory piece, hence sensory fitness. I don't really use behavior strategies. I did special education I was a special education teacher for 13 years. I worked generally with the social emotional behavior in that world. So behavior was my world. And had I known then what I know now and was more aware of kind of how our emotions and our movements are affected by how we process sensory input, I would have done things a lot different. We're not going top down. I'm not teaching a lot. I'm helping kids. I'm filling in those foundation pieces. Like we're helping kids get okay with their tactile system, their proprioceptive system, their vestibular system. And by doing that, we're also helping them build a better understanding of how their body works. And that's foundational stuff. If I can understand that, I feel better in my own skin. And then I'm more ready to listen to what it is you're telling me. I can probably move a little bit easier because I understand how this body works a little better. That kind of stuff. So we're really looking at foundational pieces and really it's two things. It's awareness, what to look for, signs, and then what can we do about that? That's kind of the easy way to break it down of sensory. So that's where, hopefully, again, I'm off on a tangent, but that's where I differ from some of those other fitness certifications.
Yeah, and that completely makes sense. I mean, like, because if the child or the person has that foundation, they have that confidence to where they say, okay, let me try to put myself out there. Let me try to do this sport I've never thought of doing, been a little afraid of, but now I know what to do. So let me see if I can move it.
Yeah. And then, even if you get them to do what it is you're asking them to do, but then there's sensory overload. Okay, now what do I do? Do I just tell the kid to be okay? Do I teach them breathing techniques? I mean, you can, and that some of that stuff can work, but sometimes it doesn't. So it's just another tool in the tool belt is what it is. And it's a tool I don't feel like is used as much. It could be utilized way more, and then it makes your other tools easier to use.
That makes
an analogy of an actual tool that does it. A hammer, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, for moms like me or parents like me, I am a stay-at-home mom and I am a homeschool. Well, my kids do K-12, so I'm their learning coach. But I, of course, need to do stuff with them at home too, fitness-wise. So, like with me, we do Just Dance. That's our little, fitness that we do during the week just to get some extra movement outside of their PE stuff. But how is this program relevant for parents like us?
So you say when you want to do some fitness with your kids and you're using Just Move, is that like a Go Noodle thing or something on YouTube?
It is a PlayStation game called Just Dance. So
okay.
There's a little camera on the PlayStation. They get to dance the choreography, and then they get better and better. It's just something fun. My little 2-year-old, he learned how to bust a move before he could walk because he was watching his kid. He's watching his older siblings do it.
And that's awesome. You're doing something physical with your kids. You're connecting with them. You're having good family time. And if that stuff works, I mean, of course it works, right? The kids are benefiting from that. They're getting cardiovascular. They're getting some muscle use. They're bonding with mom and the rest of the family. However, if you're still running into some blocks down the road, whether it's movement, behavior, or sensory overload, that kind of stuff, okay, then let's add some stuff to that. Okay, let's look at what you're doing. You're dancing. That's awesome. You're also dancing. You're also looking at a screen. So moving my body, that's kind of muscle use, but I'm still kind of out here in space. I don't have my body's not connected to anything. And if I don't understand how my body works. And that goes hand in hand oftentimes with sensory difficulties, is not understanding how my body moves. And then I'm getting all this visual input. And then later I have a meltdown. It could be just too much. So what you can do by taking this course and learning some of this stuff, okay, let's add a weighted vest to that maybe. Or let's do something else besides the screen. Let's turn that off. And maybe let's crawl up and over the couches and crash into the cushions. So I'm getting tactile input. I'm getting deep pressure. And that's different than just standing up and dancing. But I'm getting resistance. Like it's more feedback, more body input. Because some of our kids, they just don't know where their body is in space. And they can, this is kind of external, woohoo, I'm dancing with mom. But I really want to go for that deep stuff, that deep pressure, or really active, really heavy muscle use, where I have to pick up something that's resistive, like a weight or a resistance band, or I'm putting pressure on my joints, that kind of stuff. Or I'm getting a lot of vestibular input. Maybe I have a swing I can utilize, or a scooter, or I can roll around the floor, because vestibular is movement of my head, specifically my head. And I can increase that intensity by rolling instead of just jumping up and down. Things like that.
That was awesomely put. And that gave me ideas. So I might need to just email you and tell you what I do with my kids and have you oomph it.
Oomph it. Sure. Hey, you got to oomph. That's it. Oomph it.
Oomph it.
And my 8-year-old, he was trying to open a milk bottle. Put some oomph into it. He's like, what's oomph? He's looking around for oomph. I'm like, no, man, elbow grease. Oomph. That's what it is. Oomph into it.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, thank you, Matt, for giving us all this amazing information about sensory fitness and your certification class. Now we're going to go on to another fun part, because this was already fun for me. So we're going to go on to another fun part, which is what the viewers will probably like the most of the show, is we're going to give away an active bundle seat. Now, for all of our viewers, if you could please just answer this question for us in the comments, so then you can be in the drawing. And then we are going to have Matt pick the lucky winner in a little bit. The question is going to be, what fitness activities do you and your kids do? So comment your answer now, and we will choose one lucky winner to receive the active bundle seat. Now we're going to go to a quick video while we give you guys some time to answer the question in the comments.
So as a wrestler, I distinctly remember being in wrestling practice and getting squished into that mat. And that feeling made me feel really good. I couldn't explain it then, but I do remember that feeling of me, of getting squished into the mat and it making me feel good. And that's what I remember. That's what I take a lot back from wrestling. As well as I loved the physical outlet. I loved to wrestle. I began to run to school. And when I got to school, I saw that I did better. Or I'd ride my bike to school and I saw that I did better. So once in a while we had wrestling practice in the morning and I saw that my school day went a little bit better. I distinctly remember that feeling. As I got older and getting into more sports, skiing, and I began to realize when I got my physical input, when I using my muscles in my body, I felt better. During wrestling season, when I was getting all this physical outlet, I was getting all this body input, I did better in school. I was able to attend a bit longer. I was able to concentrate better in class. I could sit still longer. And then I realized, oh, hey, if I run to school, I would run to school because I felt like I needed that. I would wake up and I felt restless, and I would run to school and I would see, oh, I can concentrate a little bit better this morning. Or after PE class, I could concentrate a little bit better after PE class. I began to ride my bike more, and I got more into sports and moving, and realized I'm able to concentrate on whatever it is I'm doing, whether it was in class, hanging out with my friends, doing whatever, doing any kind of activity. I just felt more at ease. Fast forward down the road, the last thing I ever wanted to do was go back to school, but I became a special education teacher. And being in special ed as a kid, having an IEP with attention deficit disorder, having a learning disability in reading, having dyscalculia, I understood the struggle, and I wanted to help other kids with that same struggle in school. Being a special ed teacher, I gravitated towards kids with severe social emotional behavior disorders, I worked in a lot of residential treatment centers, a lot of adaptive schools, kids with those extreme behaviors. And helping those kids find their way to find success in school, at home, in their community. I also became a PE teacher, an adaptive PE teacher, working with kids, the same population of kids, during PE. And I saw instantly, working with an occupational therapy assistant, that's where I started to develop that philosophy of the sound body, sound mind. I saw the connection completely. I became an adaptive PE teacher. I enjoyed it. Still with my special ed background, I got into coaching, a lot of different sports. I became a personal trainer, and which I gravitated towards an adaptive personal trainer. I started working with kids with all sorts of disabilities, physical disabilities, intellectual disabilities. Years later, I decided it was time for a change. I went back to school to become an occupational therapy assistant. That is a huge umbrella of a lot of different things I could do. I got placed at a clinic that incorporated sensory integration therapy, and that is where I found it. That is where I found my calling. Discovering sensory integration therapy was the best thing that ever happened to me. I instantly saw the bridge between mind and body. I saw the bridge between our nervous system and fitness and cognition, higher intellectual thinking. All of it kind of came together. So all of my experience as a teacher, as a coach, as a martial artist, as a coder, all kind of funneled into this world of sensory integration and everything else. In sensory fitness, I began training kids with sensory difficulties because I saw how getting that body input really helped them calm their nervous system and get them to a place of learning, get them to a place of being able to function and do more things. Sensory integration is not a behavior approach. It's a body approach. It's an input approach. It's a bottom-up approach, an inside-out approach to help having a sound body as a sound mind. Once my nervous system is calm and my senses are working together, then I'm able to move on to something more complex, something more cognitive, something more higher order thinking. I started a program called Sensory Fitness, and Sensory Fitness began as working with kids with sensory difficulties and doing fitness with them. It was great, I loved it. As I got into it, I saw that I could bring more of my sensory integration knowledge into the home, into the classroom, into the PE class, into different environments. And that is where I want to go with this. I want to bring my knowledge of fitness and sensory integration into activities, into understanding, into things that you could do in your home. Giving people awareness of what exactly is going on with sensory, what that means with neurodiversity, kids with autism, kids with sensory processing disorder, anyone with some sort of neurodiversity or sensory struggle. So with sensory difficulties, if a kid or someone is struggling with sensory input and sensory processing, there's often a movement component and how they respond to that input and how they respond to processing that sensory input. And movement can be difficult. Coordination can be difficult. Motor planning can be difficult. So there's specific activities you can be intentional about working with your kid to help improve coordination, to help improve posture, to help improve motor planning, to help you get to a better place of learning, to start to build a map of your body, a body scheme, an awareness of how your body works. So, number one, having an understanding of the sensory input that is affecting your kid or someone you know, as well as the movements and intentional activities you can do with your kid to help them build from the inside out and help them build a body map to be more coordinated, to help with perception, to help with behavior, to help with attention, to help with functioning through their everyday life, in school, at home, outside in the community, anywhere. Not only to survive, for a kid to get through the day, but we want them to thrive. We want them to do well. We want our kids to be happy and well-rounded and adaptable. What the parents can do, building understanding of your child or someone in your family that might be struggling with either autism spectrum disorder or sensory processing disorder or some kind of neurodiversity. There might not even be a diagnosis, but there's something there. I just can't put my finger on it. It could be anything. So just providing parents an understanding of what sensory processing is, and then some activities you could do at your home, and maybe change the environment a little bit, maybe incorporate some of these activities into your everyday life. We're looking at it from a bottom-up approach, from a physiological standpoint, not going top-down where I'm putting the information into your head and then you have to behave and do things. We're looking at a bottom-up approach where we're giving you input and movement and body sense and to build body awareness for you to be internally aware, and then you grow. It's a developmental process. It's how we develop. We go from the inside out. We develop our nervous systems, we develop our central nervous system. So these videos, this information is intended for your education, to help spread awareness and to give any support into what you currently might be using at home or at school or wherever. Please discuss these techniques and this information with any professionals you might be working with an OT, a PT, a doctor, a teacher, even your IEP team, to help best fit your approach and your plan. I hope you enjoy these videos. I hope you're able to learn something, and I hope you're able to apply this stuff to your practice with some positive outcomes. Thank you.
Now, for those of you who have just tuned in, you are watching Sensory Deal Live, where you will find the best deals, the most awesome giveaways on sensory toys, educational tools, and kid products all in one spot. If you haven't answered our giveaway question, here's the question again. What fitness activities do you and your kids do together? Now, Matt, where can our audience go to sign up for your certification class?
So you can go to sensoryfitness.org and just click on Get Certified Now. That clip you just saw, oh my God, it was like so long ago. I hate watching it. Just blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's for a series of videos you can also check out. It's called a sensory, oh my gosh, what's it called? A behavior, I don't remember. It's on the website. You can check it out. A sensory approach to challenging behaviors. That's what it's called. But that's what that's from. But yeah, if you're interested in the certification, which is that times 10, you just go to sensoryfitness.org, click on Get Certified Now.
And we have a question from Heather. It says, how do I get my autistic son in this class, in a class like this? Not to teach a class, to be in a class that's taught by this.
So Heather, you got to help spread the word to any fitness professional interested in working with kids or adults or anybody on the autism spectrum or the neurodiverse scale. And come take my cert so I can teach them, because that's a big part of this. Is I'm trying to train the trainers. I want more people to offer these services rather than just me over here in Tacoma, Washington, which I love. It's not the hub of the world, but I want more people to be able to do some of these activities, and it's totally feasible. It's totally possible. All you need is an interest in it and a little know-how, so it takes some figuring out. But it's super fascinating. And help spread the word. Or if you're interested, come take the course and you start your own.
That's one way to do it. Now, Heather also said that he plays with sensory toys like the marbles and building with magnets. She also said she would love to teach one, but she's disabled, unfortunately.
Okay.
So you need to find out fitness stuff for people that can sit, so then they can teach a class. Yes. I know there's some out there. I know there is.
So making modifications to teach this stuff, if you're interested, it's always possible. It always depends what's going on. As far as like the sensory toys, I mean, so I think that's one of the things I'm trying to change. Is like the idea of sensory toys. Usually people think of like marbles or groovy lights or groovy music or water beads. Sensory toys to me is like a medicine ball or a swing or big pads of mats or a lycra tube they can get in. Big gross motor, whole body input is some of the stuff that I feel like will be more, it depends on the kid and what's going on, but generally that's kind of the idea of what sensory toys are, sensory strategies are. A lot of times that's where we go to, because that's what we've been shown. And that's when, if you go to any a school or a clinic, they pull out the sensory bin. It's usually like water beads. And that's great. This can work. But sometimes they don't, because sometimes it's all visual or just light tactile stuff. And kids, it can overstimulate them and it can kind of go backfire. Marbles, there's no weight to them. I mean, if it all depends. If it works, it works. Then it works. That's a sensory toy. That's fantastic. But if the kid's just rolling marbles and we're not able to, it depends why you're giving him the activity to do in the first place. But if there's other ways to get some large input, large gross motor output.
She also replied, she said, Heather said, I can't get him to do anything like riding bikes or anything physical. He is too lazy, LOL. She also put, he rides his bike to and from school, and that's it. So that's probably why he doesn't want to do it outside, because he knows he's got to take that hike back and forth.
So riding bikes are awesome. Riding big, heavy work. So that's the thing also. It's like there's the word lazy, right? Sometimes we got to get a kid from a passive state to an active state. And that's part of also this training is how do we tease that kid? It's hard for mom and dad to do. I don't expect mom and dad to do all that, right? That's me as a parent. I can't do this stuff with my own kids. You kidding me? I'm dad first, right? You're mom first. But, it doesn't mean you can't try or you can't help others, or even you probably could still try it. But part of that is like teasing that out, right? So what do you do if you're tired and you need to get up? You and I as adults, we probably go drink our coffee. And that helps us kind of bring us more alert, right? I'm not giving my kid coffee. Sometimes I'm like, let's see what happens. That's a bad idea. But maybe I can get him on a scooter or have him, roll around on the floor or pull him through or something. Something to grab that, get that kid from a passive state to an active state. Then we're more awake and more alert. Things like that.
And she also replied, Heather said, he would rather be on the electronic device, but I limit that too. I'm telling you, I'm the same way with my son. He loves his electronics. I give him 4 hours a day, and he always asks for more. So I'm right there with you, Heather.
So that's an international battle, right? That's just technology, and that's the way the world is. We're going to constantly fight devices, but I don't want to use the word fight, but it's a strategy we should do our best to employ more to get our kids. Our kids are so visual these days. We all are. We're all right now. We're all looking at a screen right now, right? Just to have interaction and learn. That's just the way the world is. But we have to find ways to get our kids this input. Reduce that visual if possible. Reduce some of that audio if possible. Kids are losing their peripheral vision, right? Because when we move around, we're navigating the world. A majority of the vision we use is peripheral. That senses movement. If you're out in the woods, that's what you use to sense the food that you're hunting. Not that we're hunting food these days, but if you were, right, or sense the danger, you use your peripheral. Staring at a screen, we're just practicing one set of vision skills. Yeah. And we're losing some of that. And that's true for everybody, regardless if I'm on the neurodiverse scale or not.
So that is an everyday challenge for sure. Now, we have two other comments I want to say before we scroll and end. Rosie said she's answering our question. She loves going to the gym and swimming. And then Jamie says walking at the park. I do that too with my kids. On the weekend, we go scooter at the park. That's what we do.
Yeah, getting kids outside is like sometimes all you have to do is get them outside. I've gone to the point where I lock the door. I'm taking safety and precaution, but much my mom did. Anyway, when kids are outside, they gravitate generally towards the things they're looking for. I know sometimes there's sensitivities to grass or to the wind that we have to take that into account. But generally, the more we're outside, the more we start to interact with the physical world. We pick up sticks, we pick up rocks, we throw things, we swing things, we get dirty, we climb. Maybe if there's other kids around, we get into a group of kids, and then we're making decisions together. That doesn't happen as much, these days, just the way society's set up. Yeah. There's all of that, right? But sometimes just take the kids to the park and just let them go and see what they gravitate to. Generally, most of the time, they're getting what they need anyway. Unless that sensory overload, it can be too much. Going outside can be too bright or too loud, too many kids, or there's all of that to navigate.
Very true. Miss Heather said, I remember being outside all afternoon after school and all day on the weekends and all summer long, but kids nowadays just don't know about that. Then she says, Yes, my son will throw rocks at cars by passing by. Oh goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you
Yep.
kid.
Boys
Yeah.
will be boys.
Yeah, kids will be
I have
kids.
two.
I mean, my sister broke some windows. Yeah, I got my son right now. He just came home from school. He's upstairs by himself. I got a whole street full of kids. I never see him. It's not like when we were kids where we
No.
just go home, we knew all the neighbors, right? I have to text a neighbor saying, hey, can Willie come over? And then I'll get it. I know it's so weird. It's so weird. And forget sensory stuff. Like that's just kids aren't outside as much as they used to be. And I wish it was like it was back in the day. However, we know better sometimes. Like, you know, we're a lot more safety conscious. But sometimes that kind of gets in the way of the development piece. We have to find ways to substitute that kind of stuff.
Yes, for sure. I know with me and my husband, we try to at least take the kids out on the weekends to a playground for a few hours, let them, you know, sweat it out and get some energy out and meet some friends. Because really that's their social gathering, you know, is going to a park and meeting new people. All right, so we have given time. Heather, please answer our questions so you can be in the running right now. We have Rosie and Jamie, and I know, Heather, you will answer it, so we will add you as well. We are almost at the end of the show, and that means it's time to announce the giveaway winner. Matt, if you could do us the honors and pick the winner.
Sorry, what am I supposed to do? I just pick someone from this list?
Yes, we have Rosie, Jamie, or Heather. For
Rosie,
the flexible seating bundle.
Man, that's a lot of pressure. Can we give all three of them one? All right, I'm going to close my eyes. I got to have everyone's name here. I'm going to close my eyes, and I'm going to point at where my finger lands.
All right, will you tell me where it lands?
Lay it on Heather.
Heather, yay. Congratulations.
Sorry, Rosie and Jamie. I feel terrible.
Please email us at hello@lackykid.com. We will have the link below in the comments. And then once you email us, we will get back to you and we will get your information and get your prize out to you. And thank you again, Matt, for joining us. I know you are no stranger to us, but I have been watching you for about a year since I've been in the ambassador program. And since I've been following you, I've been loving all of your videos and your gym, and I need to get ideas for my own kids for sure.
Sure thing. Anyone else, please reach out and ask me any questions anytime. You can just find me on social media, or if you're in the area, I guess come to my house. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody just shows up. It's weird.
Just show up at Matt's house and he's got you guys. All right, everyone. That's it for today's episode. Thank you all for joining us. This has definitely been a fun one for me. I hope it's been like that for you guys too. This has been Sensory Deal Lives. Thank you. We will see you next week for another Deals-Filled Thursday.
All right. Heather, you never won anything before? That's great. Congrats. Woo!
Yay!
I'm glad. All right, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Have a good one.